This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello.
Josh, I'm so glad that you can do this podcast today.
Yeah, me too.
Last week you were sick.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to talk to you about. Because it was really strange because you had a medication change.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you were kind of not yourself at all. I mean, really not yourself.
Yeah.
Then you got sick, and it's really weird because you take a COVID test and it says negative, but you had COVID because every single thing that happens when everybody else has gotten COVID, you had. And it was just, I don't know why it was a negative because everything you experienced was COVID. And at the same time, you having a medication change so you're not yourself, being really sick with a high fever and everything, headache, all that stuff, you're not yourself. But at the same time, it is you because you wanted to be in your room away from us. Right?
Yeah.
So, from the outside looking in, it wasn't immediately understood what was happening. So let's start with the medication because that happened first.
Yes.
So you had been on a medication. Now, to anybody that might be listening for the first time, you used to be on a lot of medicine.
Yeah.
And you started seeing this current psychiatrist, and she was really she did gene testing to see what was working, what wasn't working.
What was effective, what wasn't, yeah.
Exactly. And then kind of whittled it down. She was weeding through that to see what was okay, what was not okay.
Yeah.
And then kind of, narrowing it down so that you became functioning is the word I'm looking for, with lesser medicine.
Yes.
Yeah. And we appreciate that. The medicine that you were on most recently was called Vyvanse.
Yes.
And that really helps to keep you on track.
Yes.
And one of the things that you had been having was trouble sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So you went on to not a controlled substance medication.
Right.
And I guess some of the side effects are depression.
It can make it much worse, apparently, or whatever. But very few, it's a very small possibility of that happening. But yeah.
But it did.
Yeah.
And what can you tell anybody what you felt like? Anybody meaning me, because I'm right here in front of you.
Well, for me, I'm trying to put this into words, and it's difficult.
Want help?
No, I got it.
Okay.
So, growing up, you know that I've had a lot of different kinds of therapy to not just explain what emotions I'm seeing, but also what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's true.
And one of the side effects that I noticed about this new medication for me, not necessarily for everyone else, but for me,
right,
is that I had a lack of wanting to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, it also felt like there was some kind of is something preventing me from even being motivated to take care of that.
Sure.
To take care of the lack of motivation.
Right.
So I did not want that to continue.
Mm-hmm. You recognize that as something now that whenever you feel that, you want to take action to change direction.
Yes.
Right. And that comes from all the years of therapy.
Yes.
What it looked like being around you when you were dealing with that is two things going on. One, actually a few. One, an absolute lack of energy or desire to do anything, interact, anything at all.
Right.
You seemed depressed and
irritable.
Very irritable.
Yeah.
And agitated.
Yes.
And so it's really strange because while you didn't have any energy, and you're talking about this motivation, so not only were you not motivated, but you couldn't even find the motivation to begin to get motivated.
Right.
So
and it was a vicious cycle, and
what's strange is that you didn't have energy to do anything. You just felt this lack of desire to do anything, and while you in this kind of depression, and I guess when I say that to you, it could look like many different ways for many different people.
Mm-hmm.
For you, it's just a lack of I was going to say a lack of engagement, but that doesn't really. It is, from my perspective, because I know you so well.
Yes.
It's just a bit different
than normal.
It's like you're normal. I love you. Leave me alone. Right? You're not harsh about it most of the time.
Right.
But that's what it's like. Where you enjoy everybody, but then you need your space.
Yeah.
But this depression seems different to you in that when I see it in you showing up, because it really is. I can see it in your eyes, and I know that this is not going to help people that are listening, but I could see in your eyes that you were not there, that you were not yourself, you were not sharp and wanting to do anything at all.
Yeah.
And it's hard to. And here's here's why we're doing a podcast about this, because there's you, healthy Josh, on a daily basis. That healthy Josh on a daily basis still needs a lot of alone time.
Yeah.
But when you're with us, you engage.
Yeah.
Even if it's to say, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. You're very clear and clear-headed.
Yeah.
And
not always decisive, but
no. But what it looked like with this medication change was you having no energy to do anything at the same time, so incredibly agitated.
Yeah.
And that is a very strange situation.
Yeah.
To not have the energy to do anything, but yet you're like almost vibrating. You're just so agitated.
Yeah.
And so what happened was we had another meeting with the psychiatrist, and she said, okay, go back on the Vyvanse.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, sometimes this happens.
Mm-hmm.
We gave it a shot, tried to give you something that might have less side effects and is not a controlled substance, so easier to get.
Yeah.
And, not a bad effort, or decision to even try, to try it.
Right.
But it just didn't work for you. And so I think it's important for you to be able to say, which is what you did, this is not working, this doesn't feel good. Because sometimes, you would tell me, I don't feel right, I'm not okay, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And I remember asking you, do you feel depressed? And you said, yes, but it's more than that.
Yes.
And so you went back on the medication. And how are you feeling now?
I'm actually doing pretty well. I'm, insofar as me being me, I guess. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
don't have that inhibition to do stuff. I'm looking forward to doing stuff, and I'm participating in things
When
with
you're
other
going
people.
to work,
Yeah.
you're going to work, and you're, you do the D&D.
Yeah. Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
Yeah, but even, last week you were really sick.
Yeah.
But it started out, and so we missed last week's podcast. And so we're talking about all this stuff happened from last week's podcast. We missed a podcast, and that's when all this happened that we're talking about.
Yes.
And then now this is the next week.
Yes.
So it's like a 2-week time span that all of this went on.
Yes.
And it was really not something that was so apparent that you were sick, because you went right from not doing well because of medication change to laying in the bed and not moving, and you tried to go to work and you came home.
Yeah.
And that is your happy place.
Yeah.
And that's the place that if you hold one thing together in your life right now, and you choose one thing, where you're able to do one thing. I shouldn't have said choose, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
I get you. Me working at the library is huge for me. Not just because of it being something I love.
Yeah.
But more so because it somewhat puts a routine in. It organizes it helps me organize my life so much more than if I was just staying at home.
That's something that's just huge, is routine.
Yes.
And as you got older, this is a different podcast, but as you get older, you resist my help in keeping you on routine. And that is not a criticism.
Right.
That is a fact. And I can see why, because there's, you want to do things your way. You're not a little kid.
Yeah.
Me trying to keep you on a schedule is something that you're going to resist.
Yeah.
But when you have a work schedule, it really does help.
Yeah. Not just for the work stuff either.
Yeah.
It spreads, I guess, in the sense that it not only does it organize me better for doing things for work, both in and out of work, but for work, but it also gives me a focus that, hey, I need to, if I want to do something fun, for example, D&D, I have to plan for that outside of times when I would have to go to work. And so it is a, to me at least, I almost call it a natural occurrence, which is really weird for me to say that, but I don't really know what to call it.
Well, I think you called it a routine, and I think that just really helps to calm you in every way possible.
Yeah.
Because one thing that really helps you is to have that routine, for you to know what's coming, to know what's expected of you. And that's something that we've talked about before, that at the library they do an excellent job of letting you know what's expected, when you should do it, and if there's a bump in that pattern, who you should go to talk with about it.
Yes.
And so they really have kind of given you it's kind of like bumper cars, right? So like if you're in a bumper car and you hit another car, it might not feel so good, but you recover easily.
Yeah.
You can and you keep going.
Yeah.
So yes, so when you came home from work, I knew that something was not right because that's not something that you do.
Right.
Well, that day, we still thought, okay, well, this is the medication issue. And then by the next day, you had a horrible headache and you had a fever.
Yeah.
And you just didn't have any energy even to get off the bed.
Yeah.
I mean, you were just wiped out.
Yeah.
And you stayed wiped out for days. Days and days. And you had to quarantine because we were like, okay, this probably is COVID. And then I think what happened is we probably did the test too soon. Because I remember when I had it, I did the test and it was negative and then it was positive. Because I think it was just done too soon initially. But, so you stayed in the room pretty much for almost a week. It was just a long time.
Yeah.
And I would just take you food. And, and you were very respectful. I will say that when you came out to use the restroom, you wore a mask. And you made sure that you didn't touch things.
Yeah, there was a tissue box right above the toilet. Before even turning on a light switch, I'd grab a tissue because it's one of those ones that tissues stand up out of it. I'd grab that to turn on the light. And then I'd not touch anything except for with the tissue.
And I really appreciate that. And nobody else got sick.
Yeah.
So, what you did worked. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because when I say that there's you, a typical you, and a medication issue you, and a COVID you, they all involve you laying on your bed reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So it really can get complicated sometimes to figure out what you need. And sometimes especially when the medication issue was something you were dealing with, you're having a really hard time expressing yourself.
Yeah.
You're having a very hard time relaying what you do normally, which is, this is how I feel, this is what's going on, this is what I'm thinking, this is, these are my emotions. Because I pester you about those things nonstop, right? And the reason, I will follow up with that statement to say, the reason I pester you about those things is because they matter.
Yeah.
Because they matter. How you feel matters.
Yeah.
Your emotions matter. How something feels in your body. It all makes a difference. And, it's just something that we've done since you were a little guy. Figure out how you're feeling. What's going on.
And if something's not right, how can we make it better?
Exactly. And this time, it seemed to be a double whammy, which was the medication right into COVID. And you, by the way, at this point now, like a week after the fact, do you still have a headache at all?
I almost always have a very low-key headache. But this last week, it was nearly debilitating.
Yeah.
It was so bad I could not really function.
Yeah, I saw it. And
it gradually got to the point where it's, to me, almost background noise unless I think about it. So,
you mean the really bad headache, the worse it gets, it becomes background noise?
No, I mean that whenever I'm not sick, it feels like I have a low-key headache.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
That unless I consider how I'm feeling about, and like if I have any pain in my head or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I realize that, hey, yeah, I still have a little bit of a headache.
Mm. So how long have you kind of had a headache all the time? Like for as long as you can remember, for months, for...
I think the first time that I ever really acknowledged it, or at least thought about it,
Mm-hmm.
was after the accident.
In Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had gotten a concussion.
Yeah.
And so it...
So you're saying that since you got in that accident and got the concussion, you kind of always have a headache?
Yeah, but I don't... Because so much time has passed, and because the concussion... I wouldn't say change stuff, but I never really considered about a headache before.
Okay.
So I don't remember.
Right. I see what you're saying. You don't remember if you had a headache before the accident. You don't ever recall having one.
Or not, yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. So this is news to me, and so what I think is that we will follow up with doctors about that,
Mm-hmm.
and let's pay attention to when you're feeling that, if anything makes it better, if anything makes it worse, and if it's something that happens daily, or if it, like, you're saying, like, you now, right now as we're talking, yeah, you think you have one every day.
It's not, I think, I do.
Okay.
It's almost like a pressure, but it's not.
It's a certain spot in your head?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so I think what we'll do is I'll give a call to the doctor, and we'll go in and have them check you out. If you're all right with that.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think there's any issue.
Well, having a headache constantly.
When I say low key, I mean it's like you have shoulder pain because you had an accident whenever we were still living in Pennsylvania. Occasionally, if you think about it or whatever, you'll feel that pain, right?
More like that the pain happens and then I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that if I'm not thinking about it or paying attention to it, I don't notice it.
Okay.
But as soon as, if something is said about a headache, it's a trigger that makes me conscious and aware of it.
Okay. Okay. But you don't remember that happening before the accident?
I don't remember one way or the other about.
Okay, got it. So this might be... So we don't know, because this might be something that you've always...
Right.
Just part of your makeup and what you deal with.
Right, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sorry to derail that a little bit.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I think it's worth... I don't want to just let it go. I don't want to just, you're saying that you have a headache every day is not something... If we can figure out something that might be a trigger, that I would want to find that out and, help you to not have a headache every day.
Having the kids over?
Well... well. Yeah. All right, so you tell me. I'm gonna, I'm going to do some research on this. I'm going to, maybe talk to the doctor about it and see what they suggest.
Okay.
And you pay attention to it as well, and maybe help me to give them more information.
Right. I think part of it might be from stress.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, who knows?
Yeah, right. Right. It's just the first time I'm hearing about it.
Right, because this is the first time it's actually really come up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which is another interesting thing, is that often you don't say things to me, you don't tell me things, unless I happen to come across the exact wording in a question that goes to that point.
yeah. Or if something triggers the thought.
Triggers it, yes. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is what just happened.
Yeah.
So, all right, well. Okay, now I'm uncomfortable that you to hear that you have a headache all the time. Man. All right, well, we got to figure that out.
Yeah.
But so as far as feeling like you did with COVID, though, do you feel like you have your energy back? Like you are able to work and
Yeah.
everything feels okay now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm
happy to hear it.
It's so weird. It makes me frustrated, but not at the same. Every time you're saying it's COVID, because I don't feel that it was COVID.
I know, which is so funny because I thought about that. Because in your brain, it didn't say COVID, therefore it can't be COVID because it didn't say it was COVID, so it's not COVID.
No, it's not even that.
Yeah, but all of your symptoms, it down the line, it was like all of it. Well, you're looking at me like I'm crazy all of a sudden, but what, you just want to call it the flu? Well, all of your symptoms were just like COVID.
Well, you say that.
Mm-hmm.
Funny you mentioned the flu.
Mm-hmm.
Because it also, those symptoms could be attributed to that.
Yeah, right.
No,
right. But you usually are not as wiped out as you were. You don't have a headache like you did, and you don't have a high fever like you did. And just the pure exhaustion and you staying in the bed and just not being able to function. Well, I just went through that.
Yeah.
Right? Dad just went through that. Pappy just went through that. So, your sister, Madison, it's kind of gone through the family, and, so, okay, I will say the test didn't say COVID, so.
And surprisingly enough, that's not why I'm saying it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, it was nice that I acknowledge that there are false negatives and false positives and all that stuff that do occur.
Yeah.
It even said in the paperwork for the test that there's the possibility of, if you do this even slightly improperly, it could be a false showing.
Right.
But the main lingering issue I had was a headache. That was, like I said, debilitating. And that's what mainly lasted for most of the time. I had fluctuations in temperature. Yeah. But being confined to a bedroom to quarantine just in case didn't help.
What do you mean it didn't help?
Didn't help how I was feeling.
Wait a second. You usually like to be confined to a bedroom away from all of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But
so
usually
you didn't like it because you didn't feel well. Because you were so sick with COVID. All right, that one was for me. You're just like, nah, you're just telling me to stop it already.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but you feel better now.
Yes, I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're over that. I'm glad that the medication has gotten better. And now, there's no lingering symptoms. And the headache thing, we can't say is a lingering symptom because you had that before.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Right. It is nowhere near as bad as it was whenever I was definitely sick, though.
Yeah, because, I mean, you had a high fever at times.
Yeah.
And you would have the chills. You would go from burning up to having the chills, and you couldn't get comfortable, and you hurt, and, yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
It was really rough. And oddly enough, too, though, the way that your work schedule was that week, you only missed one day?
One day plus the about a little over half day that I had come home.
Right. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I know at work they're happy to have you back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is your happy place.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so I guess that's what I wanted to talk about. You're looking at me like, well, yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, I do have some news. And here's your drum roll. That's the drum roll. You like it? It's fancy. All right. The renovation is complete. And Pappy is sleeping in his new space over there tonight.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. Yep. Oh my gosh, we're so relieved. It's unbelievable. It got finished yesterday, and I will say that one of the first things we did was Nana had this Bombay chest. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And her urn is on it, and her picture, and we moved that in there last night, and I was surprised that it hit me so hard that just the motions of doing that.
Yeah.
Of, this place was supposed to be hers and Pappy's, and she's not here, but moving that, that hutch and her chest, and then, her ashes in there. It just was really, it hit me really, really hard, and I didn't know that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, I boo-hooed last night, and, and it's been tough going through stuff because we're moving Pappy's stuff over, and your sister and I are going to go through Nana's stuff, and take care of that. So, anyway.
I will say that shortly before we moved the Bombay chest in there, that you pranked Pappy in there.
Yes.
We have a thing of fake poop.
Yes, fake poop, because I'm so mature. Yes, yes, I have messed with so many people with this fake poop. So he's got this brand new place, brand new carpet, it's wide open, beautiful, carrying some of his, he's going back and forth, taking some of his clothes that are on hangers into the closet. Yeah, and I put that poop right on his new carpet. Yeah. Yes, and he found it, and he was so upset that the dogs, look what the dog, so it was funny. It was very funny. And then you went and looked at it, and you're like, oh no, and you picked it up and tossed it to him.
Yes, he flailed a little bit, but he did catch it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, so that was fun. Yeah. So, that is all that I've got. And everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Missed you last week, and I thought about doing one without you, Josh, but I just no, it was just,
yeah.
I'm just going to give you another week to heal. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. If you want to check us out on the website, it's sonyaking.com. It's SONYAKING. And if you give us 5 stars wherever you listen to us, that would be great because it helps us to be heard.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that's it for today.
Cool.
Enjoyed hanging out with you, Josh, because it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Take care of everybody in your family and your life. Those people that you care about, give them hugs, and stay healthy and happy. Love you.
Bye.